There are many famous songs today, but one stands above all the rest in terms of recognition and impact. Amazing Grace is probably the most popular hymn in the world. Even people who don't follow Christianity know the tune of this song. And if you ask anyone why it's so impactful, they'll tell you there's just something about the melody that resonates with them on a spiritual level. But Amazing Grace is more than just a beautiful song. It's a true story of redemption. And understanding the background of the song makes it even more amazing. Join us as we uncover the incredible true story behind Amazing Grace. We begin with the story of the man who wrote this timeless masterpiece. John Newton was born on July 24, 1725, in London, England. His father, also named John Newton, was a ship captain, while his mother, Elizabeth, was a woman of deep religious faith. Sadly, young John's mother passed away when he was only 7 years old, leaving a void in his life that he would carry for many years. His father, who was often away on voyages, remarried, but the relationship between him and his son was strained. At the tender age of 11, John Newton began working on ships, first as a cabin boy, then as an apprentice. This provided him with valuable life experiences that would later influence his writing and ministry. By the time he reached his teenage years, Newton had sailed extensively, including significant trips to Africa. These travels would forever alter the course of his life. Despite his father's wishes for him to continue a career at sea, Newton found himself drawn to a life of crime. At the age of 16, he deserted the British Royal Navy ship HMS Swallow, marking the beginning of a turbulent period in his life. Newton's criminal activities included working as a smuggler and privateering, which involved attacking merchant ships. He also engaged in the illegal trade of enslaved Africans. Privateering was sanctioned by the government, but Newton soon realized that he didn't want to live a life of crime anymore. So he left that life behind and tried to start over. He got married and settled down. But unfortunately, his wife didn't share his newfound faith, and the couple eventually divorced. Now alone again, he decided to return to his homeland, England. In 1748, at the age of 23, Newton boarded a ship bound for England. Among his fellow passengers were several African slaves whom he intended to sell upon arrival. As the journey progressed, the ship encountered a severe storm that threatened to capsize the vessel. In a moment of desperation, amidst the crashing waves and howling winds, Newton cried out to God for help. "O Lord," he implored, "if thou dost hear me, I will never do this evil thing again." Miraculously, the storm abated almost as suddenly as it had begun, and the ship was saved. Newton survived the ordeal, shaken by the experience, realizing the fragility of life and questioning his own actions. This pivotal moment marked a turning point in his life. The encounter with death and his subsequent survival led him to reflect deeply on his choices and seek a new direction. It was during this time of introspection that Newton began to consider the morality of the slave trade he was involved in and the broader implications of his life's path. Though Newton had escaped death, he recognized that he had also escaped hell. In his autobiography, he wrote, "I looked back, and with great difficulty, I could remember anything that was past. I felt myself to be like one who had been to death and come back." Newton returned to London in 1749, changed. He no longer wanted to participate in the slave trade. Instead, he wanted to become an Anglican minister. Before entering the ministry, however, Newton felt called to make a pilgrimage to Africa, the continent where he had acquired his fortune through the slave trade. There he performed the act of piety, buying the freedom of some enslaved people and sending them back to England to become free citizens. He traveled throughout Europe before returning to London in 1754. He studied theology and became ordained as an Anglican minister in 1755. After becoming an Anglican minister, he began to preach against the evils of the slave trade, having once participated in it. He believed that God had given him a second chance at life, and he wanted to spend his time helping others and making amends for his past. Newton served as a curate in London's St. Mary Woolnoth Church. During this period, he met influential figures like John Berridge, a respected evangelical preacher and writer. In 1760, Newton succeeded Burridge as chaplain to the Foundling Hospital, an institution founded by Captain Thomas Coram in 1739 to care for abandoned infants. Newton held this position until his death. As a chaplain, he continued to write and preach. His sermons often focused on themes of God's grace, mercy, and the importance of seeking forgiveness when we fall short of God's standards. Around this time, Newton experienced a deeply moving event that would profoundly affect his life and legacy. While visiting a former colleague, William Cowper, Newton heard him play the tune that would later become known as Amazing Grace. Newton immediately recognized the tune's spiritual significance and asked Cowper if he had composed it. Upon discovering that it was an original composition, he suggested a simple alteration to the melody. Newton requested that Cowper shift the key signature up a fourth note, transforming the piece into what we now know as the iconic tune of Amazing Grace. With the melody already composed, Newton turned his attention to the lyrics. Inspired by his own life experiences, he poured his heart and soul into crafting words that would express the depth of his transformation and the boundless grace he had received from God. As he sat down to write, Newton drew upon the profound events that had shaped his journey. The haunting tune he had heard resonated with him, providing the perfect backdrop for the story he wanted to tell. With pen in hand, he began to craft lyrics that would capture the essence of his spiritual awakening. Newton wove together themes of redemption, forgiveness, and unwavering hope, drawing from his own struggles and triumphs. He poured his heart into every word, ensuring that the song would not merely be a collection of notes, but a powerful testament to the transformative power of divine grace. With the completion of both music and lyrics, Newton had created a masterpiece that would stand the test of time. The result was a hymn that spoke to the deepest longings of the human soul. Amazing Grace was born. The hymn's immediate impact was profound. Those who heard Newton sing or recite the poem were captivated by its sincerity and power. Word spread, and soon people from all walks of life found solace and inspiration in these timeless words and haunting melody. Amazing Grace quickly became more than just a song. It evolved into a symbol of hope and redemption. Its influence transcended social boundaries, touching the hearts of all who embraced its message. The story of the man who wrote Amazing Grace is one of transformation. John Newton's life serves as an example of how a single moment of grace can change the course of a person's life. His journey from a slave trader to a devoted Christian minister illustrates the power of faith and the possibility of redemption. Through his writing and ministry, Newton shared his profound experiences and the grace he had received from God, inspiring others to find hope in the face of despair and to believe in the power of forgiveness. Amazing Grace remains a beacon of hope and resilience, reminding us that no matter how dark the night may seem, the dawning of a new day brings with it the promise of a fresh start and the assurance of God's unwavering love and mercy. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our future videos. And feel free to comment below with your thoughts and suggestions for future topics. If this video has inspired you, please leave a like as well. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.